I want you to picture Judgment Day. Just close your eyes for a second and imagine it.
Okay.
If you grew up in or around, like almost any major world religion, you probably have a very specific image in your head. The sky splitting open. A booming voice.
Oh, definitely. Maybe a massive golden scale or a giant courtroom.
Yeah, exactly. A giant courtroom where this, like, infinite line of souls is waiting for, essentially, the ultimate cosmic performance review. It's the definitive, dramatic end of the road.
It's the ultimate finish line, a fixed point in time where all the messy, complicated events of your life are finally tallied up and, the gavel comes down and your eternal fate is sealed.
Right.
I mean, it's an incredibly powerful narrative that has shaped human behavior for millennia.
It really has. But today, we're going to look at a source that takes that entire concept, the giant cosmic courtroom, and just completely shatters it.
It really does.
We are exploring a fascinating, paradigm-shifting essay by a writer named Zhu Feng. And the title really says it all. It's called "The Greatest Creator's Judgment of Humanity Occurs at All Times and in All Places."
Which is a bold claim right out of the gate.
Yeah, totally. So the mission of our deep dive today is to deconstruct that traditional idea of a final, distant judgment and explore this alternative framework. And that alternative is a universe where you are being judged right now, like in real time, by literally every micro decision you make.
It's a heavy shift in perspective. And before we get into the mechanics of how this actually works, we should be clear with you listening.
Yeah, good point.
This source text delves very heavily into theology, religion, and spirituality. But our goal today isn't to endorse any specific religious viewpoint or validate a particular theology. We are just here to impartially unpack the profound philosophical framework presented in the essay.
Right, we're strictly looking at the architecture of this idea.
Exactly. Treating it as a massive thought experiment, a new lens to look through.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the essay starts by just completely dismantling the old concept of Judgment Day before it even tries to build the new one.
It does.
It asks a very fundamental question. Why do we even believe in a single final judgment day to begin with?
And the answer offered is quite bold. The essay claims to draw on an exploration of what it calls 36-dimensional spaces.
36-dimensional spaces.
Yeah. To put that in relatable terms, imagine existence isn't just the physical universe we see, but a vast, unimaginable, 36-story mansion of different realities and spiritual planes.
Okay, I'm with you.
The claim here is that after searching through every single room on every single floor of that cosmic mansion, there is absolutely zero evidence of a designated judgment hall.
Wow.
There is no cosmic waiting room. There is no fixed date for a collective or individual judgment.
Which means the very concept of Judgment Day is actually a massive misunderstanding.
Essentially, yes.
The text places the blame squarely on early translators of divine teachings. It suggests that whoever was recording these spiritual teachings over the centuries, they kind of added their own cleverness and human wisdom, twisting the original meaning into this highly theatrical end-of-the-world scenario.
Which is something we see a lot in historical texts, human embellishment.
Right. But there's also a much more relatable human flaw at play here, like a cognitive bias we all share. We are entirely obsessed with outcomes, and we completely ignore the process.
That is a crucial psychological point. We look at death as the strict, definitive endpoint.
Yeah.
We see the outcome, which is death, and falsely assume that because the physical life is ended, there must be a grand conclusion or a final judgment waiting right there at the finish line.
We ignore the continuous process of living because we're just so fixated on the curtain dropping.
Exactly.
I was actually thinking about this human obsession with the final score. It's honestly a lot like our modern habit of binge-watching a TV show.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. We have this tendency to sit through hours of a show, and we kind of ignore the character development, the dialogue, the subtle shifts in the middle seasons, all just to see who ends up on the throne or who makes it out alive in the finale.
Right, skipping to the end.
Yeah, but imagine applying that mentality to a college course. Imagine thinking the only thing that matters is the final exam, completely ignoring that the professor is actually grading you on every single time you raise your hand, every piece of homework, every group project. By the time you get to the finale, the grade is already decided. The essay is saying we do this with our own existence.
What's fascinating here is how that binge-watching mentality actively harms us.
How so?
Well, the framework suggests that believing in a distant judgment day isn't just incorrect, it's actually a spell or a barrier placed deep within human consciousness. It says it actually blasphemes the greatest creator.
Because it creates this massive moral loophole.
Precisely. I mean, think about how it alters our moral compass. If the threat of consequence is pushed off to some unimaginably distant end of days, it disconnects you from the immediate reality of your actions.
It creates an illusion that you can get away with things now.
Right, like I can mess up today and maybe repent or balance the scales later. But by removing the threat of a distant theatrical ending, we are forced to look strictly at our immediate present.
But okay, if we throw out the courtroom and there's no deity waiting with a wooden gavel at the end of your life,
Right.
we are left with a massive administrative void, like who or what is actually doing the judging.
That brings us to the core mechanism of this philosophy. Judgment is immediate, and it is executed by the Tao, not by specific gods, Buddhas, or celestial beings.
Okay, the Tao,
Yeah, now the essay presents a paradox to explain this. It states Tao is the greatest creator, but then follows it up with, the greatest creator is not Tao.
which sounds like a riddle.
It does, but the analogies used to explain it clarify it perfectly.
Yeah.
The text uses the example of Mao Zedong thought. It says, Mao Zedong thought is Mao, but Mao isn't just the thought.
Oh, I see.
Or, to use a more universal example, China's laws represent China, but China is not just its laws.
It's the distinction between the creator and the mechanism.
Exactly. The Tao is defined here as a spiritual law. It is the invisible infrastructure that maintains the orderly functioning of the universe and the cycle of life. It is the active, operating principle of the Creator's will.
The essay draws a really hard line, though, between human laws and this spiritual law. It calls human laws dead dogma that can be fully written down on paper, while the Tao is a living law.
Right.
And I have to push back on this a little bit, because if the Tao is just a set of rules maintaining the universe, like spiritual physics or gravity, isn't that a bit cold and robotic? How can a law of physics be a judge?
That's the exact trap we fall into when using human language. Yeah, if we purely understand Tao as a law, we mistake it for something rigid, like a country's penal code. But dead dogma is limited by human comprehension. The Tao, under this framework, follows the spirit and the will of the greatest creator.
So it's conscious.
Yes. Therefore, it is imbued with consciousness. It is deeply alive. I mean, human laws have loopholes. You can hire a brilliant lawyer and escape a human law.
True.
The Tao has no loopholes. It is an omnipresent, living, spiritual mechanism that reacts to you instantly.
The text actually points to ancient philosophies to back this up too. It mentions the Diamond Sutra, specifically the line, all phenomena are illusory.
Aha, yes.
It argues that teachings from Laozi and Shakyamuni Buddha, all these profound ancient insights, were essentially trying to explain this exact living mechanism to us. They were all pointing at the Tao.
Because they were trying to explain a living spiritual physics using human words, which is, inherently impossible to do perfectly, but they were all describing the same inescapable reality.
But if the Tao is this living spiritual law, the immediate question is how it actually executes this constant, real-time judgment. Because if I'm not getting struck by lightning the second I do something wrong, the judgment certainly doesn't feel immediate.
And that introduces what is called the law of accumulation.
Accumulations.
Yes, this is where the philosophy becomes incredibly tangible. The foundational rule here is there is no qualitative transformation without quantitative accumulation.
Meaning the big, sudden changes in life are never actually sudden.
Exactly. They are the result of countless tiny, unnoticed judgments adding up over time.
The examples used to illustrate this are so vivid and so profoundly mundane that it makes the concept impossible to unsee. Like, look at the walls around a kitchen stove.
Oh, that's a great one.
Right. That layer of grease didn't just appear all at once. It built up slowly, microscopically, with every single meal that was cooked. Or look at a smoker's teeth turning black. It wasn't the last cigarette that stained them. It was the accumulation of every single drag over years.
And the framework scales this up to catastrophic events as well, a sudden heart attack or a stroke. It's almost never caused by one single moment of low vitality. It's the accumulation of lifestyle choices, stress, and habits over a lifetime.
Wow.
It even points to the Tangshan earthquake or massive dust storms. Was a dust storm caused by pulling up one single blade of grass today? No, it's the culmination of massive environmental degradation over decades.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because
Oh.
all of these examples culminate in this one ultimate analogy, which is the steamed
No,
buns.
steamed buns, yes.
The essay asks, if you eat 9 steamed buns to get full, was it only the ninth bun that did the work? Were the first 8 wasted?
It's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant too. It links massive tectonic shifts, like literal earthquakes, to deeply personal, visceral bodily functions, like digesting a bun or needing to urinate to feel comfortable. It uses these universal human experiences to prove that cause and effect rules absolutely everything. There is no isolated event.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this completely shatters how we perceive luck or misfortune.
How so?
Well, under this philosophy, we have to ask very uncomfortable questions. Is poverty just the heavens being unfair? When a billionaire is suddenly assassinated, is it just bad luck? When someone gets a sudden promotion or a chance to study abroad, is it purely a lucky coincidence?
And the answer is a resounding no.
Precisely. There is always cause and consequence. If you are screaming that the heavens are unfair, it's simply because you are willfully ignoring the first 8 steamed buns that led to the ninth.
You just don't see them.
Right. You are only seeing the sudden car crash or the sudden promotion and ignoring the thousands of micro-judgments by the Tao that accumulated to create that exact moment in reality.
There's a line that says, in an instant there is eternity, which sounds incredibly poetic at first glance, but in the context of accumulation, it's actually a terrifyingly precise mechanical rule.
It really is.
Judgment is compared to drinking water when you're thirsty. The effect is immediate, even if you don't process it yet. Every single choice is a drop of water, a microscopic layer of grease, a tiny shift in a tectonic plate.
Which brings us to the most critical part of this entire framework. If every single action is being tallied and accumulated by this living mechanism right this second,
Yeah.
how do you walk out your front door today without being completely paralyzed by indecision?
Right. It could feel overwhelming.
Ugh.
But the essay actually distills this down into what is essentially the ultimate life hack.
Oh, I like that term.
It says, regardless of your current situation, whether you are rich, poor, famous, completely scorned by society, powerful or powerless, none of that context matters to the Tao.
None of it.
Your only job, your only focus should be on your very next action and your very next word. That's it. Just ensuring that the next thing you do gets a reward from the Tao rather than a punishment.
To illustrate this real-time consequence, there's some incredibly striking imagery. Imagine the Tao as a force standing next to you at all times.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
In one hand, the Tao is holding a knife. In the other hand, it's holding what is called the gem of life. If you face a choice, say the opportunity to be corrupt or cheat someone, and you choose corruption, the knife goes right to your throat.
Oof.
The punishment is immediate, even if you don't physically feel the blade yet. It has accumulated.
But if you resist that correction, the Tao takes that gem of life and embeds it directly into your non-material structure.
Exactly.
Now, we need to pause on that term because it's central to this whole idea. Think of your non-material structure as your spiritual DNA, or like the source code of your consciousness.
That's a good way to phrase it.
It's the blueprint of who you truly are beneath your physical body.
Yeah.
Every good choice is a gem that upgrades that source code. Every bad choice is a knife that damages it. And the everyday tests we face to build this structure scale wildly.
They really do. They range from the completely trivial to the historically massive.
Exactly. For instance, when you have a piece of trash in your hand, do you throw it on the street, or do you walk a few extra steps to the bin? Are you seeking revenge against someone, or do you forgive them?
Right.
If you see a prostitute, do you engage, or do you go home to your spouse? If you find a loophole for a bargain, do you cheat or stay honest? Do you walk into the casino or turn away? Do you help a sibling in need or ignore them?
It covers every mundane choice.
And then, on the absolute other end of the spectrum, when you see your nation on the verge of collapse, do you act opportunistically to make a profit in the chaos, or do you actively strive to save it?
It's a huge leap in scale.
Right. Picking up a gum wrapper is placed on the exact same spiritual scale as trying to prevent the fall of a nation. To the Tao, it is all just the next action. It is all just the next steamed bun.
The agricultural metaphor used here is perfect. It says, sow thorns and they will obstruct your path, plant willows and you will not taste apples.
You reap exactly what you sow.
Down to the microscopic level of your daily routine.
Which really begs the question for anyone listening right now. What are the thorns you are unknowingly planting in your own path today? When you think nobody's watching, when you think it's just a tiny decision that doesn't matter because Judgment Day is a million years away, what are you planting?
The reason we struggle to see this, according to the text, is because we constantly project the flaws of human society onto the universe.
Like our justice systems.
Yes, human justice systems, our societal rules, our management, they constantly fail. They are full of mistakes and loopholes because of flawed human wisdom.
So we think we can get away with it spiritually just because we get away with a traffic ticket or a lie at work.
Exactly. But the warning here is that the divine net has big meshes, but it never lets anything slip through. The operation of the Tao never errs. It doesn't miss a single drop of grease.
Okay, so we've dismantled the fiery judgment day in the sky. We've established that the Tao is a living spiritual law of cause and effect. And we've explored how it operates through real-time accumulation, embedding gems into our spiritual DNA or holding a knife to our throats based on our next action.
Correct. That's the architecture of it.
But to what end? If there are no pearly gates to walk through when we die and no giant scale to weigh us on, what are we building with all these gems? What happens when you actually upgrade your non-material structure?
Well, the framework provides a very clear, profound, ultimate reward. The goal of following the Tao isn't just to dodge a cosmic knife out of fear. The true reward is the evolution of that non-material structure we talked about.
Evolving it.
By accumulating those gems, you are evolving your spiritual essence toward a higher level of existence.
So it's an internal ascension. You aren't traveling to a geographic heaven, you are becoming it.
Exactly. And the text claims that when your non-material structure reaches this highly evolved state, you experience something the ancient philosophies call wu-wei.
Wu-wei. Which roughly translates to effortless action, right?
Yes. Effortless action.
How does that actually work in practice, though? How do invisible gems lead to effortless action?
Think of it as a shift in your internal spiritual gravity. When you are operating with a flawed, non-material structure, doing the right thing is a constant, exhausting battle against your own desires.
Right, you have to fight your instincts.
You have to force yourself not to cheat or not to be selfish. But as you accumulate these gems and upgrade your source code, the friction disappears. You no longer have to try to be good. Your very nature naturally aligns with the Tao.
That makes a lot of sense.
You reach a state of absolute inner peace. The essay notes that once you reach this level, someone could offer you all the treasures in the entire world to compromise your integrity, and you would remain completely unmoved.
Wow.
You wouldn't even be tempted.
Yeah.
Because your spiritual physics have changed. You know the physical treasure is just an illusion, but the spiritual knife is real.
You would look at a pile of gold and just see a pile of thorns. That is an incredibly empowering way to view morality. So what does this all mean? It means you can officially cancel your waiting room appointment for the end of the world. You don't have to wait for a mythological scenario, the sky splitting open, or a booming voice to be judged.
No, you don't.
Your judgment day is happening right now. It happened when you started listening to this deep dive. It's happening as you take your next breath, and it will happen the moment you take your headphones off.
Every single second is the gavel coming down.
Which leaves us with a intensely practical and maybe slightly intimidating reality to step back into today.
It is intimidating, for sure.
If the Tao is constantly responding to your every move, and your internal source code, your non-material structure, is being built brick by brick, bun by bun, with every single choice you make,
Yeah.
what did your very last action just build?